can we hit our chest and say of the truth, there were actually freedom, that Nigeria is actually being free? Or can we hit our chest and say that Nigeria is united? Or can we hit our chest and say we enjoy peace in this nation, Nigeria? Of course, your guess is as good as mine.
Yes,
but I think one thing I would just have to say here is simply that when it comes to freedom, there are so many things where we ought to be free from.
Yes, sir.
When we talked about freedom, what we are looking at is that we are not under any colonial rule. We are no longer under the British government. That is the only freedom that we have seen. But we don't tend to look into areas we are supposed to be free from. If truly we are free from the British, then what have we done for ourselves as a nation? Because right now, as it stands now, we are only free in the paper. But in the actual sense, we are still not free from the British. Because everything we buy in Nigerian market was brought to us by the British. We got almost everything. We are still not free from. In fact, there are certain things we ought to be free from.
Yes.
Free from importation.
Yeah.
From the shackles of importation. From the imprisonment of importation.
Yeah.
If we know what importation is doing to us in this nation, we know that we are still not free.
Some people thought freedom is just about political freedom. Not knowing that beyond political freedom, there are other freedom. For instance,
there are other elements.
Now, the economic freedom.
Economic freedom.
We are free we were free politically, but economically we are
not. We are still in bondage.
In fact, much more
than when we were under the British.
Why? Because you will discover that when we were under British, when we were under political slavery, that was the time that Nigeria was they were celebrating some of these pyramids and the rest.
Yes.
Now, this railway system that you see in Nigeria
has been built
since the colonial era. In fact, to tap some of those economic resources that
we have. In those days, I could remember in those days, there were tap on my street, in my village, in my hometown.
Yes.
There was tap on our street. You could fetch tap water, pipe-borne water.
The problem is that when we got this political independence, the leaders then, and I can even say now, because Nigeria, we have not yet liberated ourselves from the economic shackle that you just mentioned. Until we are economically free, we are not yet free. In fact, political freedom does not guarantee
total freedom.
That doesn't guarantee that you have food on your table. Does not guarantee that you. Political freedom is just a step in the right direction. It's just a step. It's just a step. It's not an end in itself. It's a means to an end and not an end in itself. So, for instance, do you know that some people are now crying? In fact, the present generation, some of them are saying, ignorantly or knowingly, saying that we prefer Nigeria to be recolonized.
Yeah.
That if we cannot be after the political independence, the freedom we have gotten, if we could not still manage ourselves, that means better we should go back and and invite the Europeans to come and recolonize us. It's very painful.
And Nigeria now are now crying out for foreign government to come and rescue us from our own politicians or from
Now,
our own country.
There was a young man that wrote a book. I think we have a copy here that says how Africans underdeveloped
Africa. Mm.
There was a European a man who wrote before that time, who wrote, in fact, we studied it in the school, we debated on that. He wrote his own book, was titled How Europe Underdeveloped Africa.
Okay.
But the question we ask now that after 60-something years of political independence, we can't continue to accuse
the Europeans
as being responsible for our problem,
underdevelopment.
Now we discover the problem is no longer
the
Europeans, our leaders. So how Nigerians
undeveloped Nigeria?
That is the question.
Mm.
What have we done with the freedom that we have gotten from the colonial masters?
How Nigerians and Nigerian government has underdeveloped Nigerian and disunited Nigerians so far, thus far.
Because we can't continue to blame. We have gotten the political freedom.
Mm.
You know, when we are talking, we are people that we cherish freedom. But what we do with freedom matters a lot. Now, can we truly say that we are free?
And another thing that also came to mind is simply that, you know, God in His infinite mercy has actually set us free. Indeed.
That is it.
It's just unfortunate that we are being enslaved by our own self, by our leaders.
Yes, by ourselves.
Now, because why did I say so? If you look around, you discover that God somehow, some way, was able to bring us together despite our diversity. And you discover that from different zones, different regions, God has, you know, deposited some wholesome natural resources in different regions. You know, with the mindset that I believe, with the mindset that if we're able to harness all of these, then Nigeria should be one of the greatest nations. But reverse is the case today.